and whatever this entity is that currently feeds off all of it, that's stealing our children, that's rigging the economic scene more and more so that this week they get 10% of our effort, but next week they'll be getting 12% of our effort, and the week after they're going to have 14% of our effort, and more we're sliding into, is there a polite way to say it? You know, global slavery, global fascism, whatever. You know. What are we going to do? What can we do to change that? And so I've been flooded with all kinds of thoughts listening to people, you know. And it's like discovering that we're actually made out of light and electromagnetics. You know, there's people who've worked with that for thousands of years already. When can we get to the place where they can come in here too and bring their knowledge in here? And we're free enough from the forms of our mind to be able to hear it the way they're going to bring it. Because they're not going to say it the same way. They're going to speak a different language. There's elders I know that I could bring here that would be incredibly difficult for most people to understand because they speak in limited, broken English. You have to be able to hear from a different place, to hear the complexity of the simplicity, you know. There's a lot of old people that I've been privileged to know in my life who can sum up the whole picture in a couple of words. You know. David Menangwe, who's the last appointed prophet of the Hopi Sun clan, who lived until the late 80s. He was 114 years old when he passed away. And in the mid-80s, when he went out for the first time and traveled around in the East Coast, New York and whatnot, because they were taking him to these delegations and places to speak and whatnot. When the first time they asked him, they said, well, now you've been out there and you've seen it, what do you see? What does it look like to someone like you? He said, witchcraft. Pretty simple. Now that word means different things for different people. But there's a way in which what I'm hearing people who are starting to take this thing apart and how it works, you know, those guys who were here this morning talking about the court and the different levels and the flags and the symbols and the images, and like folks are starting to figure that stuff out. That's all ceremonial magic. We don't have to go look for some spot in the bush where Satanism is happening. The courtroom I heard described this morning, it was like a satanic meeting hall. And so if we don't get it, that what we're dealing with is an entity that acts through human form, it doesn't sleep, it doesn't rest. And so in a sense, they've got it made because they've got us all hooked on self-indulgence and entertainment and vacations while they work around the clock to secure their position. And we got to take time off, you know, but it doesn't rest. So how are we going to match that with our own quality of being to become as capable as it is? Like some of these guys who are figuring that, and excuse me if I don't remember who's who, I feel like I've taken in way more than my poor little mind can sort at any given time. When people are talking about eye contact with the judge, and movements and gestures, and becoming consciously in control, because in a sense, it's all theater. It all takes place in a live theater, and for most of us, we've been sufficiently disconnected, undermined, and turned upside down in such a way that the theater appears to be real, and it acts on us, and we feel helpless to do anything about it except submit to it. And yet there's folks who are turning that around and able to move through it not be victimized by fear and all the other ways that we've been undermined, to be able to act consciously in it. You know, I get real excited about that, you know, because I've seen it in other realms where that's what's real. Everything is ceremony in a sense. So how we do things, you know, if I get up on here, I change the way it is between me and you. It's different now. You know, I don't like it. But things as simple as that change what happens. And that's their area of expertise. They've built this giant theater that's busy empowering their thing so that they can get away with it. And we got to take a vacation to get away from it. You know, at some point there's going to be no vacations if it's going to be different. And the challenges that will bring into all of our lives. Is there even any point in evolving myself if I'm willing to hand over my children to the state? So then whatever grows in me ends with me. Then it was on behalf of nothing. So even if in order to be here and take in all this wonderful information, I have to hand my children over to an environment that's going to damage their minds so that I can be here, what's the point? And so am I willing to examine all of that stuff? Because inevitably it's not going to be fun what I'm going to find out. The more I examine what I'm doing, what I do with my dollars, where they come from, where they go, what I do with this, what I do with that, it's not fun finding out what the truth is. Whatever it is. If we're going to wake up, then we're going to find Central American blood in the bottom of our coffee cup. And that's not going to feel good, you know? But fair traded coffee might cost a little more. I heard somebody say here today that somebody switched, it was you, for a penny less. They went to a different program, you know? When are we going to be willing to spend that extra penny or that extra ounce of effort on behalf of investing in something good? I used to be a farmer, and if I sold top quality organic milk for a dime more a liter, it wouldn't sell because everybody just drinks the other stuff. That was quite a long time ago, so there's more people who understand the difference now, but it was a completely hopeless situation then. Self-examination, self-observation, the ability to actually see ourselves, which of course on a certain level, the last thing I want to see is myself, because I'm not going to like what I see. Right? Any serious objective examination of my own mind is going to reveal to me that it has a mechanical nature. It actually produces thoughts on a track that I, by my own will, can't change instantly. I can't tell it to go this way. If it wants to go that way, it goes that way. And so life itself follows a pattern. It has like a habit track. And all these things that have been let into our world influence that track. With all the new media and everything else, like some of the stuff that was just being talked about with the movies and Walt Disney and the rest of it, all of that builds patterns and tracks in the mind that then just carry right on that way. To a certain degree, we are a collection of habits. So, if your moment of death is right outside this gate when you leave here, and all you have is your habits in your mind, Are you content with what you got? Are you ready to go? I'm not. I've got a lot more that I need to do here before I get to that moment. And the thing that is oppressing us is a multi-dimensional reality that we've got to get in there and figure out how we can be as operational as it is if we're ever going to match it. And that's in 1,001 different ways, because we all have a different destiny to unfold. My job is different than your job. And this is such a wonderful gathering that way, because there's people here who are willing to take jobs off the job board and take them on. And I'm meeting all kinds of people they've got a job, they've got a destiny to fulfill in relation to this bigger thing, because it's on its way out. And there's a new day coming. Whatever way we understand it. It's totally exciting. There's been plenty of periods in my life when I've been pretty much ready to give up on that one. But it's happening. And it's happening faster and faster. And I'm so thankful to just be alive and be part of it. And yet it's a challenge for me to objectively ask myself what my destiny is within that framework. The way I currently understand it, it's mostly in relation to my children, because I have 3 young children. And to protect their mind and heart and what I call their internal guidance system. Because I'm 47 and I'm still trying to reassemble my internal guidance system because somebody smashed it to bits and externalized. It was out there before long, and the one that was in here had no authority whatsoever over what happens. And so in my life, my challenge has become how to not trample my children, how to not break their will on behalf of making my life easier, so that they actually grow up knowing that whatever guidance they're getting in the moment, as ridiculous as it might be in any one moment, is actually valid, and that they have a right to manifest it and speak it, and it's as legitimate as whatever I want in a given moment. And to have them grow up that way. And boy, that eats up half your day right there. Just trying to go along with that. Or other rules that we use for education, non-manifestation of negativity. It's perfectly all right for me to be completely pissed off, but it's not perfectly all right for me to dump it on you and tell you about it. The golden rule. Can go a long ways with that one. Real simple stuff that has to become part of who we are again. If we're going to be strong enough and know who we are. Because the thing that we don't have anymore, we've all become part of this homogeneous thing that has no identity. My ancestral bloodlines are a bunch of rebels who got chased back and forth between Ireland and Scotland and somewhere running away from England all the time. And you go back there and it all gets kind of fuzzy because they're running from the guy with the gun still. I mean, it's been going on and on and on. As more information comes to the surface, it starts to look like just one giant bloodbath all the way back as far as we can go. It's a big mess. So how do we get to where we have that kind of, and we can't go back because it's all going forward, but there's got to be some new version of the tribal or global mind where our interconnectedness becomes trustworthy. And what comes out of my mouth has integrity, and you can count on it. Because then you won't be afraid to stand beside me when the trouble comes. And I know I can count on you, and you know you can count on me. And that's part of what they took away from us. We don't trust each other. And we don't trust each other for good reason, because we've become untrustworthy. And meanwhile, they win, because they've got us all doing this thing and diverted all of our attention into making sure that everybody has their own chainsaw, their own lawnmower, their own this, their own that, and then 500 other things that aren't necessarily even related to what life really is. If there's going to be a future for life, it's not got anything to do with how many lawnmowers we have. You know? And so what are we willing to give up on behalf of it? You know? Or what? We've always found a great exercise. Just shut off your electricity for a week and get in touch with what's real. What do you really need? It's actually pretty simple. Clean water, hopefully some food, but a week is doable without food, if need be. And hopefully warm and dry. And yet we've become hooked into all these other things that are wonderful things. I use them. I got a washing machine and, you know, all of the normal conveniences. But I've also lived without them, so that the threat of their disappearance doesn't scare me. I know what it is to do diapers with a stick on a pot on the wood stove. I'm not going to volunteer to do it again. Once is enough. Right? But I won't live in fear of those things slipping away from me. I don't have to make compromises in the integrity of what I do or the choices I make on behalf of keeping those things there, because I'm scared to death of their disappearance or being able to maintain the lifestyle that we've become accustomed to. And am I willing to objectively investigate what the cost of that lifestyle actually is in relation to everything that I touch and handle? Am I actually willing to know